I thought my friend would never me, but I saw her laughing with my partner about a secret I wasn't supposed to know, and I felt trapped between anger, heartbreak, and the desire to never speak to either of them again. I'm writing this because I need to get it out before it kills me. My hands are shaking as I type this, and I've deleted this post 17 times already. But I can't keep carrying this alone anymore. 3 months ago I thought I had everything figured out. Perfect relationship with Sarah for 4 years. Best friend Marcus who'd been my brother since college. Dream job. Wedding plan for next spring. I was that guy everyone envied, you know. The one who seemed to have his life together. I should have known it was too good to be true. It started with a text I wasn't supposed to see. Sarah's phone was charging next to me on the couch, and when it lit up, I saw Marcus's name. Nothing weird about that, they'd become friends through me. But something about the preview made my stomach drop. He still doesn't know about last weekend, right? My turn to ice. I stared at that screen for what felt like hours but was probably seconds. My finger hovered over her phone. I knew I shouldn't look. I knew whatever I found would change everything. I looked anyway. The messages went back months. While I was working late planning our future, buying her flowers just because I loved her, they were, God, I can't even type it without wanting to throw up. It wasn't just physical. That would have been easier somehow. They were in love. Real love. The kind where they finished each other's thoughts and had inside jokes I'd never understand. The kind I thought Sarah and I had. The worst part, reading how they talked, no idea. He's so trusting, it's almost sad. We should tell him soon, but not yet, like I was some inconvenience they had to deal with eventually. I sat there for 2 hours, rating every message, torturing myself with details I'll never be able to forget. They'd been planning this conversation for weeks. How they'd break it to me gently. How they'd still want to be friends. How they hoped I'd understand that sometimes these things just happen. These things just happen. Like 4 years of my life was just something that happened. When Sarah came home from work, I was still sitting in the exact same spot. She took one look at my face and knew her phone was still in my hands. Baby, I can explain, she said, and even in that moment, even knowing what I knew, my heart jumped at the word baby because I was pathetic enough to hope this was also a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Hundreds of choices made every day for months to lie to my face while planning their life together. How long was all I could manage. She started crying. Real tears, the kind that used to make me do anything to make them stop. 6 months. But we didn't mean for it to happen, you have to believe that. 6 months. Half a year of kisses that tasted like lies. Half a year of I love you too when I said it first. Half a year of planning a wedding to someone who was already gone. Marcus, I asked, even though I knew the answer. She nodded, mascara running down her cheeks like black rivers. He's been wanting to tell you. We both have. We didn't know how. The thing that broke me wasn't the betrayal, as insane as that sounds. It was the realization that I'd been living in a completely different reality than everyone else. While I was making dinner reservations and planning surprise dates, they were falling in love behind my back. While I was telling my parents about wedding venues, my fiancé and best friend were building a future that didn't include me. I was a ghost in my own life and didn't even know it. Get out, I said. My voice sounded weird, like it was coming from underwater. We should talk about this. We should figure out how to. She packed a bag while I sat on the couch like a statue. I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Couldn't process that my entire world had just collapsed in the span of an afternoon. Right before she left, she turned back. For what it's worth, I really did love you. I still do, just differently now. Differently. Like love is something you can just rearrange when it's convenient. I didn't leave the couch for 3 days. Didn't eat, barely slept. Just sat there staring at the wall where we'd hung pictures of us together. Pictures that were now lies. Memories that were now. My phone buzzed constantly. Sarah texting apologies. Marcus calling, wanting to explain his side. My mom asking why Sarah wasn't answering her text about the wedding flowers. I turned it off and sat in the silence, trying to figure out how I'd become the fool in my own love story. That was 3 months ago. I thought that was rock bottom. I was wrong. I wish I could tell you I handled it with dignity. I wish I could say I took the high road, wished them well, and moved on with grace. But that would be a lie, and I'm done with lies. After that first week of sitting in my own misery, something dark started growing inside me. Anger, sure. But worse than anger, humiliation. The kind that eats you from the inside out and makes you do things. I started checking their social media obsessively. Instagram stories, Facebook posts, LinkedIn updates. I created fake accounts when they blocked me. I memorized their schedules, their favorite coffee shops, their new inside jokes that showed up as captions under couple photos that should have been ours. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. Sarah posted a picture of them holding hands with the caption, "Sometimes the heart wants what it wants." Marcus shared a story about finding love in unexpected places, with her tag both them laughing at some farmer's market I'd taken her to first. My farmer's market. My spots, my life, with me edited out like I'd never existed. The wedding was supposed to be in 6 weeks. I'd already paid the deposits. The invitations were at the printer. My parents had bought plane tickets. Sarah's dress was hanging in what used to be our closet, now just my closet, like a ghost in white satin. I called the venue to cancel and had to explain why to a very confused wedding planner who kept asking if we wanted to postpone instead of cancel completely. Sometimes couples just need time, she said kindly, and I almost laughed. Time wasn't going to fix this. The worst part was telling people. My parents, who loved Sarah like a daughter. My sister, who was supposed to be maid of honor and had already planned a bachelorette party. Our mutual friends who had to choose sides or pretend nothing happened. Most chose them. That's what really killed me, finding out that our friends were their friends first, or maybe they just made a better story. Star-crossed lovers who couldn't help themselves versus the bitter ex who couldn't let go. Because that's what I became, the bitter ex. I started showing up places I knew they'd be. Not stalking, I told myself. Just living my life. If they happened to be at the gym I'd been going to for 2 years, that wasn't my fault. If they were at our favorite restaurant, well, it was my favorite too. I'd sit across the room and watch them be happy. Watch Sarah laugh at Marcus's jokes the way she used to laugh at mine. Watch her touch his arm, play with his hair, lean into him like he was home. It was like watching someone else live your life, but better. 2 months after everything fell apart, I was at Jake's birthday party. Jake was one of the few friends who stayed neutral, who still invited me to things. I almost didn't go, but staying home alone every night was me slowly, and I thought maybe being around people would help. Sarah and Marcus were there. Of course they were. Jake was Marcus's friend first, going back to high school. They walked in together like they belonged, like they'd always been a couple, like I was the aberration in their love story. I'd been drinking, more than I should have, but not enough to blame what happened next on. I was standing by the kitchen island, trying to look casual, when I heard my name. Still thinks we feel guilty about it, Sarah would say to Marcus, both of them giggling near the back patio. Like, we tried to feel bad, but honestly, best thing that ever happened to us. Marcus laughed. Remember how paranoid he got toward the end, always asking where you were, who you were texting. It's like he knew but didn't want to admit it. The poor guy was so clueless. Remember that night he made dinner for all three of us, and you played footsie with me under the table while he was talking about the wedding. They both cracked up. Sarah was bent over laughing, the kind of full body laugh I used to love hearing. Marcus was wiping tears from his eyes, and he kept saying how happy he was that his two favorite people got along so well. More laughter. Harder now, like I was the punchline to a joke I didn't know I was part. That's when I understood. This wasn't guilt or regret or even love. This was entertainment. I was entertainment. My pain, my confusion, my desperate attempts to save a relationship that was already over. It was all hilarious to them. I was a joke and they were having the time of their lives telling it. Something inside me snapped. Not broke, snapped like a rubber band stretched too far. I walked over to them. Having fun? I asked. They both jumped. Sarah's face went white. Marcus at least had the decency to look ashamed for about 2 seconds before his expression hardened. We weren't talking about you. Sarah lied, which somehow made it worse. Really, because I heard my name. I heard you laughing about how I was, how paranoid I got, how funny was that I trusted you. My voice was getting louder. People were starting to stare. You're making a scene, Marcus said quietly. I'm making a scene, I'm making a scene. I was shouting now. The whole party had gone quiet. You destroyed my life and you're laughing about it, but I'm the problem. We didn't mean to you. Sarah said, tears starting again. We never wanted it to happen this way, but you're glad it did. You just said it was the best thing that ever happened to you. You're celebrating how easy it was to lie to my face for months. The room was dead silent now, everyone staring. Jake trying to figure out how to defuse the situation. Someone had their phone out, probably recording. You want to know what the worst part is? I said, my voice cracking. It's not that you fell in love with each other. People can't help who they love, right? It's that you enjoyed me. You got off on how I was, how trusting, how easy it was to fool me. Marcus said, but his voice was weak. I heard you both. You think I'm pathetic, and maybe I am, but at least I'm not someone who gets their kicks from destroying people who love them. I looked around the room at all the faces staring back at me. Some pitying, some uncomfortable, some disgusted, but not at them, at me. For making it awkward. For not suffering in silence like a good victim should. Enjoy your life together, I said and walked out. I sat in my car in Jake's driveway for an hour shaking. Not from anger anymore, but from shame, from the look on everyone's faces. From knowing that by tomorrow I'd be the crazy ex who couldn't handle losing gracefully. They'd want. Not just Sarah and Marcus, but everyone. They got to be the love story and I got to be the cautionary tale about what happens when you can't let go. I drove home to my empty apartment, to my empty bed, to my empty life, and realized I'd lost more than just Sarah and Marcus. I'd lost myself. That party was 4 weeks ago. I haven't left my apartment since, except for work and groceries. I've become one of those people I used to pity, the ones who order everything online, who cross the street to avoid running into people they know, who check restaurant parking in to make sure they won't see familiar faces. I'm 29 years old and I'm living like a hermit. The worst part isn't the loneliness, though that's bad enough, it's the silence. Not the quiet, I can handle quiet. It's the silence where responses used to be. Good morning texts that don't come anymore, someone asking how my day was. Having plans for the weekend that aren't just Netflix and pretending to sleep. I bought groceries yesterday and the cashier said, how are you today? And I almost started crying right there in aisle 12 because it was the first time someone had asked me that question in 2 weeks. Work has been. I'm a marketing coordinator for a mid-sized tech company, which means I spend my days creating content about connection and community and engagement while feeling completely disconnected from everything. My boss pulled me aside last Friday to ask if everything's okay because my performance has been inconsistent lately. Inconsistent. That's one word for it. I told him I was going through a breakup and he nodded sympathetically and said to take all the time I need, which was nice, but what I need is a time machine. What I need is to go back to before I saw that text and just delete it without looking. What I need is to be unhappy instead of smart and miserable. The wedding would have been this weekend, September 23rd, 20:30 p.m. at the Riverside Gardens. I know cause I still have the date saved in my phone calendar. The reminder went off this morning. Rehearsal dinner 6 p.m. I stared at that notification for 10 minutes before deleting it. My mom called yesterday asking if I was okay because she'd seeing engagement photos on Facebook. I had to explain that no, Sarah and Marcus hadn't waited very long to get engaged. 3 months. Apparently, the ring looks bigger than the one I'd saved for 6 months to buy. Oh honey, Mom said, and I could hear her heart breaking for me through the phone. I'm so sorry, I lied, I'm happy them. No you're not. She was right, I'm not happy for them. I'm not happy for anyone. I'm just empty. Like someone reached inside me and scooped out everything that used to matter and left me with this hollow shell that looks like a person but doesn't feel like one. I've been thinking a lot about what Sarah said that night. I really did love you. I still do, just differently now. I think I understand what she meant. She loved the version of me that made her feel safe while she figured out what she actually wanted. She loved having someone to fall back on, someone guaranteed to be there, someone who loved her so much he'd never question why she was suddenly working late or texting more or seemed distant during movies. She loved me the way you love a security blanket. Comfortable, familiar, always there when you need it, but not something you'd choose if you had better options. Marcus was the better option. I've been wondering if I ever really knew her at all, or if I just loved the idea of her. The Sarah in my head who laughed at my jokes because they were funny, not because she felt sorry for me. The Sarah who said yes when I proposed because she wanted to marry me, not because it seemed like the next logical step. Maybe we were both in love with people who didn't exist. The hardest part is that I miss them. Not together, I can't think about them together without wanting to punch holes in walls. But I miss my best friend. I miss having someone to call when something good happens at work. I miss Marcus's terrible cooking and his worst jokes. I miss Sarah's laugh when it wasn't directed at me. I miss having people in my life who knew me well enough to know what I needed before I'd ask. I miss feeling like I mattered to someone. I've thought about reaching out, texting Marcus to see if we can talk, calling Sarah to ask for closure. But every time I start typing, I remember them laughing. I remember Sarah bent over giggling about how clueless I was. I remember Marcus wiping tears from his eyes because my pain was so amusing. Some things can't be forgiven. Some bridges can't be rebuilt once you burn them to ash. Last week I ran into Jake at the coffee shop near my office. He was with his girlfriend Emma, and they both got that look people get when they see someone they feel sorry for but don't know how to help. "How are you holding up?" Jake asked. "I'm good," I said, same lie I tell everyone. "Listen, about the party, I'm sorry that happened. That wasn't cool what they were doing." Emma nodded. "We felt awful about it. Nobody thought it was funny except them." That helped a little. Knowing that not everyone thought I was the villain in this story. But it also made me realize that people have been talking about me. Probably for months. Poor guy, they're probably saying. Can't let it go. Still hung up on his ex. Needs to move on. They're not wrong. "Are you seeing anyone?" Emma asked gently. I almost laughed. "Who would I see?" "How do you explain to someone new that you're broken? That you trusted completely and got demolished? That you're terrified to let anyone close enough to you again?" "Not really in the right headspace for that," I said. Jake nodded like he understood, but he was holding Emma's hand while he said it. "He goes home to someone who chose him every day. He doesn't know what it's like to wonder if anyone will ever choose you again." I've been thinking about that conversation all week. About whether I'll ever be ready to trust someone again. About whether I'll ever stop being the guy whose fiancée left him for his best friend. About whether that's all I am now, a cautionary tale about what happens when you love someone more than they love you back. My therapist says I need to forgive them to move on. She says holding on to anger is like drinking and expecting them to. She means well, but she doesn't understand. This isn't about anger anymore. It's about the fact that forgiveness requires believing people deserve it, and I don't know if they do. They didn't just break my heart, they humiliated me. They made me to entertainment. They turned 4 years of my life into a joke I wasn't in on. Some betrayals don't deserve forgiveness. Some people don't deserve second chances. I'm sitting here typing this at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep. Because when I close my eyes I see them laughing. Because I can't figure out how to be okay with being alone when I never planned to be alone. Tomorrow I'll get up and go work and pretend everything's fine. I'll smile when people ask how I'm doing. I'll make small talk about the weather and weekend plans I don't have. I'll come home and eat dinner by myself and watch Netflix until I'm tired enough to maybe fall asleep. And maybe someday it won't so much. Maybe someday I'll meet someone who won't find my trust amusing. Maybe someday I'll be the one choosing instead of the one being chosen or discarded. Or maybe this is just who I am now. The guy who got left, the punchline. The one who loved too much and trusted too easily and learned too late that some people will take everything you give them and then laugh about how easy it was. I used to think the worst thing that could happen was being alone. Now I know the worst thing is discovering you always were alone, you just didn't know it yet. The trusting version of me died the day I found that text, and I don't think he's ever coming back. Maybe that's for the best. Maybe next time I'll know better than to hand someone my whole heart and trust them not to drop it. Maybe next time I'll know better than to believe in next times at all.